a little bit like a shotgun wedding out here. People never seen it that extreme before. Yeah.
Mother of the groom.
Mother of the groom. Well, today I'm going to talk about the charismatic movement, patriarchy, AI, and the meaning of Lent. And then after that, I'm taking requests. You know, when I lived in the Boston area, I was in a colleague group that included a charismatic priest. And if by charismatic, you're not quite sure what that means. The charismatic movement has an emphasis on the Spirit indwelling you in a way that brings forth the gifts of tongues in particular, where you speak and utter in other languages. And it was a very lively movement. And so some of the charismatic movement considered it a gift from God that required a profound letting go. At my friend's prompting, I signed up to go to a conference where one of the nation's leading charismatic leaders was presenting. And as it turned out, he also happened to be an Episcopalian. It brought out kind of a part of me that was a little cautious, maybe a little embarrassed, going to a place that made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't know what would happen. It was kind of like a night visit for me, like Nicodemus going somewhere to ask some questions, but you didn't want other people to know you were asking those questions. More on that in a minute. Yesterday, as I was spending time with this story about Nicodemus, I came across a mini testimony from the Reverend Cody Sanders, who is an associate professor of congregational and community care at an ordained Baptist minister. And he said that the significance of coming to Jesus at night was not just about others. And he said this, I quote, "As a queer kid growing up, there were questions that I brought to Jesus at night that I could not ask among my fellow Christians in church." So Jesus provided a safe place to reveal those questions, the deeper questions. A place to have a private conversation, to ask questions about God and explore this unbelievable message about God so loving the world, loving all the world. What wondrous love is this? Does this extend all the way to my night questions, my secret questions? One way to think about the Lenten journey is to see it as putting one step in front of the other to be with our night questions. Maybe we're inexperienced at what our question is because we don't practice it. We don't ask it. We don't explore it. What is your night question, the one you don't want other people to see you asking? Courage to look deeper into those places that our culture or personal experience have taught us to avoid. Lent ultimately leads us to the cross. We lift high the cross. Sounds glorious, but it's not easy. If seen as the world's night visit to God, the crucifixion is an invitation to vulnerability, to kind of exposure. If not naturally, then in some form of a secret night visit to someone you feel safe with. So back to the charismatic Episcopalians. At my friend's conference, my critical mind was fully engaged. I've always been good at picking apart bad arguments. But one evening at the conference, when everyone was tucked away in their rooms, I went and found Terry Fulham, the renowned charismatic. He invited me into his makeshift office at the conference center. I chose the night so that others, notably my colleague, would not see me going to inquire. It felt a little too much like an altar call at a Billy Graham crusade or something, where you don't really feel like exposing your desire, your need, a lack of something within yourself. Nothing public. But I opened myself up to receiving a new gift, a new way of being in the world. So after some conversation, he laid hands on me. I asked him if I would receive the gift of tongues. And then it happened. Nothing. Absolutely nothing happened. Did you know nothing can happen? It's sort of a strange phrase. Nothing happened. Well, really, nothing happened. And I had the gall to ask him to try again. Just one more time, you know. And I noticed he was really not praying for a specific gift. It was almost like I was seeking a certain mental way of finding a deeper meaning to my life, when maybe the meaning I was seeking was that life is more of a question than it is an answer. Maybe it's something that draws you deeper into your life and your experience, into your soul and into your heart, instead of, metastasizing in your brain. Some kind of control that we see. It's an opportunity that prayer was, and I think he could see it, for me to let go of my control, of my mental way of trying to figure everything out and nail it to the ground. It was really just one of many prayers throughout my life that have helped let me go, let me let go, and to trust in God's love in a way that is truly freeing. It doesn't have to look one way or the other. Now, last week I quoted a female scholar who essentially said that patriarchy did not only diminish women, it diminished men. And so I'm struck that this story about Nicodemus could be seen as one man struggling with patriarchy. And when I say struggling with patriarchy, which seems almost contradictory sometimes to women, like why would you struggle against it? But if you take a deeper look at what it's forced men to do, there's a different story to it. It has to do with men having certain balls in the air that they're not allowed to drop. Certain expectations that the culture has asked of men. And certainly, men dare not expose their deepest questions or longing. Our emotional depth is held at arm's length, not only from others, but from ourselves. So how do we have a night visit? How can we expose ourselves in a way that the culture itself, including patriarchy, does not laugh at, minimize, or consider the messaging that men have received as suck it up, ignore it, and live a life that's half there? How does one descend into the depths of emotional presence? Why is it that we don't see that as a courageous journey? As probably the most courageous journey is one of self-awareness. How does one embrace the journey into awareness in a world where male models seek solace in everything but self-awareness and vulnerability? Warmongering, once again. Anger towards those who are different. Narcissism, you name it. We certainly have plenty of examples we do not want to be. And the avoidance of our deeper emotional awareness, is it not synchronistic with our fear of AI? As I was driving home from our OCT meeting event at the Methodist Church this week, NPR was airing an interview with Michael Pollan. A World Appears, A Journey into Consciousness is the name of his book. A World Appears, A Journey into Consciousness. What exactly is consciousness? If most of our sin is really a result of unconsciousness, not knowing why we're doing it, we're just compelled to respond and react in the way that we do as human beings. It's an unexamined life. It's not looking at the pain underneath our actions. And his argument is that brains are not computers. It's not hardware and software. You take the software out of one and plug it into the hardware of another, and it comes out exactly the same, like a computer does. But really, our brains are evolving and reacting in unique ways. Every one of us has a different brain in that sense because our experience, our suffering, our struggle, our story has shaped the actual hardware of our brain. So the software won't work for every brain, if you will. And his main point is consciousness does not come from thought. You can't get to consciousness by thinking it out. It comes from feelings. So he knows that AI will never feel. Therefore, it will not be truly conscious ever. So the fear of AI becoming conscious, it can't be conscious in the way humanity truly experiences consciousness. Is AI, with all of the other stuff that's going on in our world, is it synchronistic? Is it all there for us to respond to rather than react to? That the storms that we're experiencing on so many different levels right now are an invitation to seek something truly human, which is an emotional life. A life of feeling, a life of heart. It's all the readings today about faith and law, about trust and mental formations, if you want to call that. Is that's not our calling. Our calling is to be a people of heart. And when Abraham set out, he was taking the biggest risk of his life. Where are you going? I don't know. Do you have enough provision? I have no idea. Probably not. How are you going to make it happen? And what is it you're going to make happen? I don't know. I'm being compelled. I'm being drawn out of my head, out of my doctrine, out of my position, whatever it is, to be on a true journey of the soul. Is all of this one last push to see if the mind can save us? The mind will not save us. There is no amount of information that will save us. There is a self-understanding and awareness that requires a true experience, an inner awareness of feeling, of emotion, of depth. What Jesus leaves with Nicodemus is an invitation to the Spirit. The wind blows where it chooses, and you hear the sound of it, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. Are you cool with that? You don't know where you're going? You can't predict the future? You hear the sound of it roaring all around us, and you don't even know where it comes from, let alone where it goes. That is the life of the Spirit. Because if we understand it, it shakes us loose from control. That's what allows us to embrace trust and believe. If we believe that God loves us, that God is working all things together for good, if we have the heart that we need to be compelled and drawn towards the actions that we take, then we can do that with joy. We can do that with a sense that God walks with us. Because, this Lenten journey is a journey, I hate to say it, to radical vulnerability. It's not an inconvenient thing that we have to kind of get through in order to celebrate Easter. It is the journey to Easter. Jesus specifically says, although I think most of us sometimes think Jesus said, "Take up my cross and follow me." He doesn't say that. He says, "Take up your cross and follow me." It's deeply personal. It is filled with night questions. It is filled with your unique sense of yourself, your own unique sense of imprint through your emotional life, and whatever that has entailed. And it will ultimately lead you to a resurrection with Jesus. Such radical shifts in consciousness will be held only by faith and trust in the mystery of love, the mystery of God. And as we enter a moment of silent meditation, I'm going to take a moment. You can read along if you so wish. But I'm going to repeat the psalm today, because it is the foundation for faith. It is the foundation for trust, that we believe, we choose to believe, not in our control, but in God's grace and provision for what we're facing now in this world, in our lives, and in the future as well.